what is a fart? Or rather, what's in a fart? According to the Oxford Dictionary, a fart is an emission of wind from the anus. The gas we pass is mostly made up from a mixture of carbon dioxide gas, methane gas, and hydrogen gas, as well as significant amounts of oxygen and nitrogen gas. Now, if for some reason you're familiar with these gases, you might already know that these are completely odorless gases. And that's because, funnily enough, the smell from farts actually comes from tiny amounts of chemicals, which, when combined, make up for about 1% of the total gas. Some of these trace gases are dimethyl sulfide, methanethyl, and most notably, hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide is responsible for that pungent, rotten egg smell in your farts. And it's gonna be the main subject of this video in a bit because, believe it or not, there are no recorded cases of someone injecting farts in blood. And I do not encourage you to be the first one to inject your farts in your blood. So why can't we inject farts in blood? Let's start with this. Injecting any type of gas in your bloodstream is a bad idea, to say the least. If you've ever had an IV inserted, which I hope you haven't, honestly, you probably noticed those tiny bubbles traveling down the tube and into your veins. Those are typically really safe and actually really common. But even then, that depends entirely on the size and the speed at which the air bubbles travel down your bloodstream. If you're getting too much air, you risk something called an air embolism. Even a small amount of air, if it just moves quickly enough and manages to reach your heart somehow, can cause the same problem. And keep in mind that this is just air we're talking about here. Remember that farts are mostly carbon dioxide, methane, and hydrogen gas. Carbon dioxide alone, when injected into your blood, forms carbonic acid, which lowers your blood's pH, a condition called acidosis. Methane and hydrogen both displace oxygen in your blood, starving your cells from the oxygen they need, which can mess up with your brain function and organ performance. Not something you would want at all. So what's the actual closest thing to injecting farts in blood that we've done? A study published in 2015 by members of the Naval Medical University in Shanghai, China, has shown that delivering doses of hydrogen sulfide in rats is effective at improving blood pressure and protecting cardiac tissue in rats that had an induced hemorrhagic shock. Yeah, hydrogen sulfide, the same compound responsible for the smell of your farts. But how does it do it? The answer is by inhibiting apoptosis. Apoptosis is an essential process in the body, as it removes damaged or old cells in order to prevent harm to organs. It also acts as a tumor suppressor by eliminating cells with damaged DNA, preventing them from becoming cancerous. However, in trauma, like hemorrhagic shock for example, the process of apoptosis kills cells that could have otherwise been saved with proper and swift medical care, which for the heart could mean weakening heart function exactly when the body needs it the most. This leads to higher odds of heart failure, arrhythmias, or multi-organ collapse in the presence of a hemorrhagic shock. It's important to note that it's really hard to deliver doses of hydrogen sulfide, as it is highly lethal. In fact, it doesn't even have to be running in your blood to be lethal. Here's a chart by the OSHA showing all the symptoms that different concentrations of hydrogen sulfide lead to. The typical background concentration of hydrogen sulfide is at about 1/10,000th of a part per million. At around 1 part per million you can already feel the rotten smell. At 100 parts per million, you lose the ability to smell due to olfactory fatigue. And finally, at 1000 to 2000 parts per million, you can expect to die instantly. Because of this, researchers often use compounds called donors that release it safely. Sodium hydrogen sulfide is one such H2S donor, and it was used in the study we just talked about. Sodium hydrogen sulfide works by dissolving in blood and quickly releasing a dose of hydrogen sulfide. This makes it powerful, but also really risky. That's why scientists have been exploring slower and more controlled alternatives, like GYY4137. Unlike sodium hydrogen sulfide, which can release all its hydrogen sulfide within seconds, donor GYY4137 releases it gradually, over the course of hours and even days. In a 2018 study, a group of researchers led by Natalie A. Drucker from the Indiana University School of Medicine investigated using sulfide donor GYY4137 on mouse models with necrotizing enterocolitis and intestinal ischemia. Both are serious conditions that kill thousands of newborns every year. In that study, researchers have found that the gradual release of hydrogen sulfide in the blood significantly improved intestinal circulation and reduced tissue damage in the affected mice, which suggests real therapeutic potential. So, to answer our original question, what if you injected farts in your blood? You would die. That's what would happen. Thanks for watching.